Welcome, everybody. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. Welcome to another of our Sundance 2022 Film Festival live streams. I'm going to be joined very shortly by my colleagues from Film Threat, who will be talking about movies that they've seen. And perfect, the leaf blowers just showed up on time. This is how you know it's going to be a great live stream. When the leaf blowers show up, they instinctively know you're doing a live stream. That's how they know. You're doing a live stream. Okay, the leaf blowers are gonna come out. Thank you for joining us today. We're gonna have a lot of fun chatting about movies playing at Sundance, maybe some of the issues we've encountered with Sundance. So join me as we chat about the Sundance Film Festival. Hey. I'm joined by Alan Ng, Sabina Dana Plasse. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, perfect.
Did I really?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Is it the Plasse?
Yeah, you know.
There you go. Cool. Sabina and Alan and our whole crew, Norman Gidney, Rob Rector, a lot of our other writers are hard at work. Come on, this is fun. You get to see movies.
They'll be joining us.
That's the most fun thing. That is not hard work. Plumbing is hard work. The leaf blowers outside my place, that's hard work. We're having fun doing this. So welcome everybody in our live stream. Please post your comments and questions, right? If you've got some questions, some comments, let us know what they are. JJ Max says, sorry, I didn't know about your channel until the recent FNTs talking about Friday Night Tights. You're doing great. Keep it up. Thank you, JJ Mac. I'm speaking loud because I don't know if you can hear the leaf blowers directly outside this room, which is my spare bedroom, which I use specifically for live streaming. I'm gonna post, but although this room is filled with like collectibles and books and all sorts of, I'm gonna post photos on my personal Instagram today, where you're gonna see the photos of the room that I actually do live streams from and YouTube stuff. Let's launch right into it. This is I had a conversation with some people last night from movie Twitter.
Oh.
Movie Twitter is the opposite of film Twitter. Film Twitter takes itself very seriously. Film Twitter is like talking to somebody who took their first film class and they know everything. And all their opinions are only their opinions are the good ones. That's what I feel like dealing with film Twitter is like sometimes. It's a bunch of annoying, pretentious people, I'm going to be honest. But we're trying to create this movement called Movie Twitter, where we don't take ourselves as seriously and we welcome all opinions. So we're in a sense truly diverse. But we were having a conversation. A lot of people at the table, Scott Menzel, some other friends of mine, Eric Weber, they were all talking about how they thought Sundance was not great this year, and it's been declining in quality for some time. So since I have you both here right now, what are your general thoughts about what you've seen at Sundance? I feel like it's no different to me than any previous Sundance. They're movies that people get way too excited about, right? Because they actually got into a screening, right? Well, that element's gone. The last 2 years, Sundance has been completely virtual. These movies are, if they were just released in theaters and you saw it as a normal film at your local art house, you'd think, oh, it's probably a 6 or a 7. But when you see it at Sundance, there's something about the frenzy of the mountain air or or the exclusivity that, bumps up the ranking of the movie. So what are your feelings on the general quality of movies at Sundance this year? Sabina, let's start with you.
Sure. Well, first, I was looking at a Twitter post from Ted Hope, Good Machine, who was like, where are all the sales? He's like, I haven't seen anything. And I'm like, everything that I know is been sold actually came to the festival with a Showtime, HBO attached to it. But I don't know, maybe one or two, but I haven't seen the press releases. I feel there is two things going on, and we mentioned the state of the world we're living in, and could have something to do with the productions and what's in people's head and what they're putting out there on whether it's digital. And a lot of people did actually use film, which is something we haven't talked about. But there's something going on with people's need to reveal all kinds of sexual exploits and discussions and headspace about it. And then just tons of documentary leaning into the biopic, not necessarily a documentary of discovery or of something that's going on that nobody knows about, which is what I love about documentary film. It's a form of education. And so, but this year you had a lot more access than you did last year in terms of as reviewers and people watching virtually. Those second screenings, they gave you a lot. So that, Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris. I don't see a lot of difference between this year compared to the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I was there in Park City. Last year, I was at home. This year, I'm at home. And I think about all the films that kind of came out. And in terms of Oscar buzz, in terms of award nominations, Sundance happens in January. And I think a lot of the buzz kind of wears out on these films that doesn't really pick up until you get into Toronto Film Festival. And so, yeah, I mean, most films that I saw at Sundance 2 years ago just wound up going on Netflix, Amazon, and last year is certainly true. And then I think this year's going to be the exact same thing. There's some really great movies, but not something that I would say, this is the movie of the year. Mm-hmm. And sadly, it's because we're in January.
We're also joined by our colleague Rob Rector, who's getting set up. He's phasing in and out, but he's in front of the Egyptian Theater on Main Street.
Ooh,
yeah, someone went.
It's a little chilly to be in a t-shirt, but at least it is a Film Threat t-shirt.
Hey, I love it. We're both wearing Film Threat t-shirts. Someone got the memo. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. But no, so we're talking about, has the quality of films diminished at Sundance? Like, I would say it's pretty much the same as it's always been. But Sabina, you referenced Ted Hope on Twitter, who asked a question, and I followed Ted. He follows me. I was on a jury at the Bahamas International Film Festival with Ted one year, had the pleasure of hanging out with him. He's fascinating. He's a producer who really cares about independent film, and famously, probably a movie you've all heard of, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. He was the producer on that. But he said, like, where are all the sales? And I agree with him. There's just not that. We're now in our second year in a row of a virtual festival. It's not that exciting. Mm-hmm. There's not a frenzy. There's not like even if you're just like on one of the shuttle buses headed to another theater, you'll overhear conversations. Someone will mention a film and you can jump in. It's like mini flash podcasts, just happening in line or on the shuttles or at restaurants and bars or events. And the topic of conversation is, what have you seen? What have you seen? What are you excited about? All of that is gone. Mm-hmm. There is no live event. It's all gone. It's second year in a row virtual. I really truly believe that if Sundance decides to do a third year in a row of virtual, it'll destroy the festival. It'll certainly destroy what makes it special. And if they don't consider moving it, I know it's something I brought up many times. If they don't consider moving the festival, they're really going to destroy that experience. I think Summer Sundance would be awesome, but I've been going to Sundance since the 90s. I will say, it's pretty much the same to me. There's your controversial films. The documentaries are always the best. The documentaries, to me, always end up being the best films. Generally, sometimes there are docs that have played Sundance that have never actually been commercially released. There's no way to see them. In particular, I'm thinking of Todd Phillips' documentary. It's a movie called Frat House. Is it called Frat House? That movie, because he didn't get clearance from certain people, showed at Sundance and then is never to be seen. Yeah. So Todd Phillips, of course, who made Joker and
Hangover,
a lot of other movies.
Old School, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of other films as well. But his movie Frat House was a doc that played years ago and for legal reasons was never released. Now, by the way, you can find that movie on YouTube. somebody put up Todd Phillips' Sundance documentary that you can't see anywhere. Guy made the Joker. Frat House is on YouTube somewhere. So if you're watching this on YouTube, after this, go search for it and whatnot. But what do you think? I think the docs are always strong. The narrative films are always a mixed bag. You've always got a couple of movies. It's almost like, to me, the same. Like, then you got a couple of movies, like some really like big Hollywood stars in some small indie movie that's a very meh film. It's usually the opener, or movie. Everybody's screaming, I'm so excited. Look at these big celebrities in this movie, and then the movie's just meh. But it's and then there's like smaller films that tend to actually get buzz after because they get lost in the shuffle. But Rob, what's your overall impression of what you've seen so far at Sundance?
I think I want to reflect back to what we were talking about a couple episodes ago when we were saying how that it's been so evolutionary with the film festival model in general. And I feel like a lot of these deals are being made before these films even get launched here, that there's all this, this backroom deal has already been done. So their fates are already predetermined. And, therefore it's really just kind of the pickings after. There's almost like how the evolution of the Fast Pass at Disney World came to be, like now everyone's got their seats early. They want to be the first to the party. And now they can go ahead and their fates are determined. And this is for the rest of us to just kind of see, oh yeah, this is what was left. I mean, and that's not to diminish the films that are here, because like you said, I've seen some really strong films here. But I feel like there's been this continual evolution to where the deals were made at Sundance to now, the announcements of the pre-purchases are made at Sundance.
You're basically repeating something I said on one of our previous episodes, which is it's like a wrestling match where the outcome is determined before the match takes place. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
that's kind of how I compared it. But that's fine. Sundance is sort of a showcase. So like if HBO Max has an indie film that's going to be playing on their platform, or Netflix, they'll screen it at Sundance, right? And then it finds, that's a way to get it publicity, right? It's a way to get it reviews, but the deal's already made. But there are very few cases now, movies that come to Sundance without distribution seeking a distribution deal. That is more rare now. And I also think that we're living in an age of too much content. There's too much, like, I don't think look, you could make the argument and you could make the complaint that, there are not enough good movies, but no one's ever going to say there are not enough movies. There are so many movies. I think someone was telling me that about 8,000 movies are submitted to Sundance. They screen a little over 200 if you include short films. So, that's a remarkable number. 8,000 films submitted to Sundance. That's like 8,000 people, that's 8,000 movies being made, right? That's a lot of people. So, before we actually talk about movies, let's talk about the movies that you've seen so far, because this is our wrap up of our Sundance Film Festival coverage. Any final thoughts on this topic? The silence is deafening, so I think that means there's look, I think the quality is about the same. I think what you're seeing is Sundance is used as a platform to launch films. And I think that there's a plethora of content, and maybe that's just sort of adds like after a while, and this happens to me when I'm scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to see. There's a sameness about it, right? Mm-hmm. There's a sameness. You can, everyone, I've brought this up many times, more than I care to count, but I made a movie years ago called My Big Fat Independent Movie. Came out in 2005. You can get it used on DVD on Amazon. It's not out digital yet. I've been trying to get a digital version out of that for a while, but it talks about all the tropes and cliches of indie film, and they're pretty much the same. That movie's aged pretty well. I'll
Well,
say. But
when you're talking about, you know, the dearth of film, there's so many other outlets now, as opposed to just going out to Sundance to try to hustle your film. Then you can release it on Tubi, or on, you know, now you see all this exclusive content in all of these streaming channels and all of these various outlets. So why would someone want to go and fight the mass and be part of the bidding war when they're like, okay, I can get and get a marketing deal with these little, you know, the independent streaming platforms as well too, where you can be the big fish in a smaller pond.
well, I do think being the big fish in the smaller pond is always like, I think that's preferential for a filmmaker. I think for myself, just as a viewer, I actually, Sundance and the larger festivals are ones I kind of feel like Film Threat, like we have to do, but the places I actually have more fun are the smaller film festivals, right?
Yeah.
Like your smaller festivals that are less market driven.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I also think too that, you know, Sundance is a year-round operation. There are so many entities to it. There are, there are grants given out. There are people in production. There are the institute. There, I mean, it's the big festival allowed all that to happen, and so it's a badge of honor. And I don't know anymore if you need the festival for the marketing or to sell your film, because there is an entire enormous distribution scene beyond the US. And when I talk to filmmakers, especially people who want reviews for Film Threat, I mean, I don't know if I speak for all of the reviewers, but I get hit up all the time. I need a review. And, you know, no one knows how much money
can I tell you know what they can do? You can go submit your movie to Film Threat. That's I tell that to friends of mine. Who like friends of mine who've made movies. I'm like, you have to get it in our system. You just go to Film Threat at the top. It says submit. You submit your film. It's easy. It's free. And if you want some additional marketing support, yes, you can purchase additional marketing support. It's we have all sorts of programs to do that. But
exactly, and they need it, and people want it, and they look to Film Threat to carry them into a distribution deal so that there's a review about them. So I have to wonder if things are shifting, and there's a million places to exhibit film. It's not just a film festival anymore.
Amen.
Right.
And so maybe Sundance has to rethink where its place is in this hierarchy now. It's still the top. It's still, oh my gosh, my film's in Sundance. I'm going to go watch my friends who have films. Less and less of them in the past few years, and more unknown filmmakers, which I kind of like, which is good because it used to really favor people. But I think the market's changing. And like you said, the content is enormous. There's just an enormous sea of it.
Isn't it almost like seeing the evolution of Miramax? Like, remember when Miramax was like the big indie production house, and then we slowly watched it get gobbled up by Disney, and then, you know, it became, it wasn't the independent, it was part of the norm, and, you know, it just still maintained some kind of indie cred, even though it really had none.
Well,
when I would
real quick, Vegas film critics ask, as a rule of thumb, why review a movie if the public can't see it? First of all, Vegas film critic, hello. Very good question. But the question of that is, the answer to that is, it makes people in the public aware of the movie, and it makes you want to see it, but also helps the filmmaker in terms of securing distribution. So reviewing a movie that's playing at a film festival is incredibly important for the filmmakers, because the benefit they get out of it is that they get their film known. It gets known. To a good review of a movie can help a filmmaker get distribution. I know for a fact movies that Film Threat have reviewed have led to distribution deals for filmmakers. So that is really important. Now what we do is we'll rerun those same reviews when the movie is available commercially, and our annual event Award This, where we give awards to small independent films. The two rules are, you have to be to be eligible, you have to be reviewed on Film Threat, and you have to be available in commercial release. I know JJ Max says he feels the same way. I think there's a lot of benefit. Filmmakers know what the benefits are of getting a good review in Variety or The Reporter or Film Threat, right? It really, it helps them. It helps the filmmaker. It helps them in terms of their career. They finished a movie. They want to raise money for another movie. It's very important. And also, I'll read a review of a movie from the Toronto Film Festival and think, I can't wait to see that movie when it comes out. So, but we're all big movie nerds. I want to say, before we move on and actually start talking about the films, hey, check out the Film Threat website. It is updated every day with reviews of movies playing at Sundance, with reviews of movies that are available on video on demand. Our homepage, you can scroll through. We like to feature the movies with, you see the way that we feature them. I think it shows these films in their best light. So visit Film Threat every day. We generally post about 3 to 5 reviews a day, except during something like Sundance, because during Sundance, we're probably posting about 10 reviews a day, which is kind of crazy. We talked about Duel the last time on our last live stream. So check out the Film Threat website. And additionally, if I might say, help support Film Threat. If you're a filmmaker, hey, send us your movie for review. It's very easy to do. If you're a film fan, you know what? Check out the Film Threat shop. The Film Threat shop is pretty awesome. You can get, Rob and I have like some cool shirts, right? You can get more shirts like the ones here. We even have one inspired by Dune right here. I bought this one. I like that shirt. Anyways,
but it's
you get the
to
idea.
give credit to Film Threat is that you watching the scroll there, we're watching shorts alongside the features too. So for struggling filmmakers or first-time filmmakers, how awesome is it to be on that same platform as the features too? Because that doesn't happen in a lot of places. You know, they're kind of relegated to lump together and say, here are some of the shorts and here are the features. And here with that scroll and the way the reviews work and the way the platform works, you get front and center.
Right. Well, let's actually get into it. So who's up first for their reviews?
All right. Well, we teased it last time, and now we're talking about Cosby.
We're going to talk about Cosby. Yeah. So it took me a little bit to get through this 4-hour exhibition of this what is a docu-series in 4 parts. I actually listened to an NPR show about it as well. Kamal Bell, who you may know as a comedian, he's a 5-time Emmy Award winner for his CNN show, United Shades of America. Probably the best person to dive in to this subject. And 60 women were found who were sexually assaulted by Cosby within his 50-year reign of television. And it goes from there. Who knows how many women actually were sexually assaulted? Those are the ones they found. And they set the series up as a timeline. So you see him from when he came out as one of the first accepted Black comedians, and a very good one, very personable, stage presence, intelligence. And Bill Cosby moved his way through the comedy world, doing albums, then on television, doing education for kids, doing against drug for children and teaching them right from wrong. Fat Albert, oh my God, I lived for that show with every Saturday morning with my brothers. We watched it religiously. He brought Black and white America together. And then from there, he became a bit of a force in his Cosby show. And again, the networks saw how he united everyone. He wasn't just for one segment of society, he was for everyone. But when you go and you look back at his huge career, huge, seminal person in entertainment, you begin to see this path of scenarios where he's talking about what he's doing. It's like they say the greatest crimes take place right in front of you and you don't even see it. he was talking this bit about the Spanish fly, which was a drug that you would give women, and "Hello America" is what he said on the King show. And Larry King was totally obsessed in this interview about what he was talking about, and it was funny, and it was gentleman behavior. And then as he moves along, he is a gynecologist on the Cosby Show. His office is in the basement. There were all these little things. It's like they say it's a breadcrumb. And what Camus did, which I think is an amazing thing, is he did not want this topic and Bill Cosby to be allowed to exist without having everyone get their say, and recognizing that these women couldn't talk to each other. And this is my personal opinion, because they all existed in worlds that they would never meet. So they wouldn't have this discussion. But then it got even stranger. Apparently on all the television shows he did, there were dressing rooms for certain people. And then when he wanted someone on the set, or he wanted someone to meet, they would move people to a closet, actors on the set, and bring in this person for a day or two. And he always had women in the audience. And these are things I didn't know. The behind the scenes, who was helping him do this? How could people not know? The history, the Playboy Club, the history of drugs in America, it all kind of gets filtered into this scenario. And then Camus said it when he was freed because of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court let him off for one reason or another. After he admitted to things that he did, he's a free man. And he's till this day, even from the review of this series, claims that he didn't do any of this. What do you do? This is an iconic person in our society. What does this say about who we are as a culture in a time when someone like him has seen Black people rise and be able to take on things that they haven't done before and get a lot of credit for it and get shown as, you know, the rest of us, the level is the playing field leveled out, and look at what he did. It was really interesting to sit back and talk about this with the few people I'm around right now. And we all agree, you're just sort of left, you know, holding the bag, so to speak.
Well, I have some questions about it.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a 4 1-hour segments. Is this going to air somewhere? Are we going to be able to see?
Showtime. And actually, I think it's going to be airing this weekend. I think it might go up on Sunday, but I'll have to check on that. So
effectively, you can see a Sundance film this weekend. We need to talk Sundance. I mean, this is a series, right?
Yeah.
I'm like you. I loved Bill Cosby as a kid. I listened to his comedy albums like The Records.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I loved just I don't know, like just the cartoon show, like everything, like and all of this coming out is heartbreaking. And the worst part of it is it sounds as if, and I don't know if the series goes into this, that it was kind of an open secret in the comedy community.
Oh, totally. Well, that's how it happened. So, and I actually have a personal Cosby experience. No, I was not accosted. But it was a comedian who made a joke about it. And that's how the whole thing blew open.
Wow.
And they all knew, and they were all joking about it. Chris Rock joked about it. Eddie Murphy joked about it, you know, way back when. And it was like, no one thought anything, like they let it go.
It was Hannibal Buress, right? Hannibal Buress is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how in depth does the doc go? Obviously, Cosby did not do an interview for this documentary series.
Oh no, but they have footage, archival footage that goes back to the first time he ever stepped on stage. They have unbelievable interviews with scholars, with a drug expert, with women who told their stories. 60 women telling the same freaking story. They shot these in different locations too. I don't think he brought everybody into a studio. And it was how these women were approached. Like, there's this weird part of the series where he set up shop in like Reno and was doing stuff there. And they're like, why is Bill Cosby in Reno? Well, why not? You know, you've got women working at Cocktail Waitresses Abound. You've got, and who's gonna believe you that Bill Cosby assaulted you? So my personal experience, having worked in a newspaper as the arts editor in a ski town, in a one that's very tied to Hollywood, he came through with his show, and I got to do an interview with him. And I'll never forget this. I call him up, and he answers the phone, and he says, "Yes, it is." And I was like, "Okay, I guess this is Bill Cosby." I have no idea, but I definitely was always like, how could you answer the phone like that? You must have such such power that you know of, that you can answer a phone like that, knowing this little tiny reporter is calling you, and to know it's a girl. It was an interesting conversation. He seemed so normal. We even talked about, my upbringing and what I knew, and how I felt and how much I loved Fat Albert and all those shows. And he was so real and authentic. I can't even tell you. But the ego.
Yeah. It's so disheartening. And it's shocking to me that he was surrounded. I mean, if it was an open secret among comedians, his family had to know. I mean, I don't know how much detail it goes into that, but and I want to thank actually Philip Turner for the $10 super chat. Love your reviews. Thank you so much. Thank you, Philip, for your yes. Thank you, Philip, for your support. We appreciate that. But so thank you, Philip, for that. But back to this, like I want to. It's just, he was a hero. Like, he was one of the comedians, it was that Cheech and Chong. I listened to Cheech and Chong. Love Cheech and Chong. Steve Martin. This is at a time where you would actually get together with your friends and you'd listen to those albums over and over till they were, those albums were scratched up, and you'd get together, and it was like this secret thing, like, we shouldn't be doing this, right? We're just little kids, but here's the record player, and here's the new Steve Martin album, right? And we just get together and listen to them. And Bill Cosby. Oh my God! I have memories of Bill and the Fat Albert Show. I just love that show. Like, from the music to like him giving these little come here Timmy like lessons, right? Come here Timmy is a term from television, if you know what that is. You can look that up. But he would give these sort of like lessons to the camera, so the live action part, and he would try to explain, or there was like a moral lesson, but of course it comes out the guy giving you the moral lesson is a dirtbag. Monster.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And how about this? What was super cool is that when he was doing I Spy with Robert Culp, he like called out Hollywood, where we're the black stunt actors, we're the black actors for our stand-ins, and he changed that system so that there were black stunt actors, and there were he called out things and changed like industry know-how and how it went down, and so he was like a dual personality. I think that he lived a double life, and he made his entertainment life and his work and the education part of his life with his doctorate, and everybody kind of questions whether he wrote his thesis or not, who knows. But it got so big to cover up the larger things that he was doing behind the scenes with women and his assaults and drugging, like, Quaaludes, like mixing. I mean, it's just sort of like, the date rape thing is just beyond. And you can't buy Quaaludes anymore, so that's a whole different deal. But 2 pills, everyone says the same thing. He gave you 2 pills and made you take a drink. Was he drinking? No. I mean, that's the thing. Like, and I just can't believe all the things you accomplished. And then you see footage with his wife. They're donating art to a gallery or museum, and she just sits there. She doesn't say anything. And in this interview, he's shutting it down. I think it was an AP reporter who wanted to ask him about allegations, and he shut it off. And his wife's just sitting there. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, with this like this sort of smile, like a Mona Lisa smile. And I just thought, how could and he's got this entourage of people, and it's right in front of you. I don't know. It's still today. I keep listening to everybody talk about it. because I think everyone is so blown away. And I think Kamal is still blown away, even after spending a gazillion hours on this. I think he still can't believe, because he said when it came down that he was let off, he just said, "What am I doing?" And he was just so taken. He just couldn't believe that all this work led to nothing.
Well, it's a tragedy, and in particular for the women who didn't feel they had any sort of power to speak up. You can always count on Sundance for uplifting movies.
Well, at least someone like that can't be president.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's our next review, Alan?
All right. Well, after that, this is a movie this is for Rob. One of two movies that I wanted to see, but they were sold out.
Oh,
they were virtually sold out. I don't know why, but I couldn't see this one. So, Rob, let's talk about Aubrey Plaza and Emily the Criminal.
Yeah, let's go with another feel good. Aubrey Plaza, obviously, indie darling, and shout out to the home state of 302 Delaware. So have to. She plays one of 42.9 million people right now who are suffering under the crushing debt of student loans. It opens with her in this very uncomfortable grilling that she's receiving from a menial job of administrative assistant, and her past gets dug up. She never graduated because she had a criminal incident that that gets dug up during this interview. It becomes really uncomfortable. She doesn't get the job. She's slinging food at a local food delivery service. Excuse me. And really uncomfortable. She's an artist at heart. One day, one of her colleagues offers her a chance to earn fast money for purchasing items with a fraudulent credit card. All she has to do is walk in, swipe, and leave, and then they in turn sell these. Usually, it was flat screen TVs. They'll sell them on the black market, and it was in and out, quick, done, and she had $200. So she was able to chip away at her loan. She was happy with that. And of course, as all of these marketing schemes, are structured, she's offered to make 10 times that amount if she wants to do a job that's a little more risky. That almost goes sideways. But in the process of doing this, she ends up befriending one of the two Lebanese brothers who have this business, this credit card business, played by Theo Rossi, who's just fantastic. And they develop a friendship despite the job going poorly. Those two strike up a relationship, and that separates its two Lebanese cousins, and that causes a fissure between them. And one becomes jealous of the other. Meanwhile, he is still trying to proceed with this business because he wants to just make it to a certain level and then get out with all the riches that he's amassed. But they realize pretty much they're too far in to escape anything easily, and things start to spiral out of control from there. So I don't want to give too much away because a lot of it is in the twists and turns. Directed by John Patton Ford, who was last at Sundance about a decade ago, maybe over a decade ago, with a short film called Patrol. And he returns here with his first feature film that his camera is pretty much at eye level the whole time. So we feel as though we are in the car with her when she's driving. We feel as though we are over her shoulder when she's purchasing and looking around to see if the security cameras are on her, when she's escaping, when we hear a helicopter buzz over top of it. It's almost like that Henry Hill feeling from Goodfellas, where, he's constantly on the lookout over his shoulder of like, who's watching her now? What security camera was she on? So it's palpable. It's, you can really feel it because of where he places the camera during all of it. So, I gotta ask, is it funny? Cause I love Aubrey Plaza. Like, she has moments of dry humor, of her very, typical dry humor, but no, this is a complete shift for her, and she excels at it because we buy her as she's from New Jersey and she's a transplant and living in Los Angeles now, but she still has those, those hard Jersey ties to her. So there's an edge about her that you can sense in everything, that she's not going to just go down easy, and a tenacity to her. And because of her past roles, I think we root for her, even though we know she's not making the best choices. There's still something about her that we inherently love, and we want to see her succeed, even though we know all signs are pointing to an off ramp for her that she doesn't take.
See, I wish this was the plot of the 355. It could have been women trying to get their student loans paid off.
Yeah,
that would be somewhat relatable. But anyways, I love Aubrey Plaza, but it sounds like your review or your thoughts about this is it just okay? Like what?
No, I would say that for the first 2/3 of it, it builds up such tension and suspense. And I don't know what that was. Maybe I have a security camera somewhere.
I don't know. It's weird.
It builds up tension and suspense, and it, unfortunately, the last third of it, it doesn't quite match it, and the stakes don't seem as high as the first 2/3. That said, it's still worthy, and it's worth seeing solely for her performance and that of Theo Rossi. I think both of them together and independently are so good in this, and it's great to see her branch off into another territory where I think she could excel very easily. This could be, you could see this kind of being like a Norma Ray, like a Sally Field actress. You could see her, kind of emerging as this, formerly being sunny and funny, and now going into dramatic territory.
Well, I love Aubrey Plaza. I just wonder if she's pretty much like the same character in every movie, right? I mean, she plays Aubrey Plaza in every movie, so
she's not here. There's a lot of nuance to her here.
Well, that's good to hear. I like. I mean, I would see it just because I like her. I mean, I think she's awesome. So, what's our next review, Alan?
All right. Well, I'll go next. Let's talk about Sharp Stick. This is from Lena Dunham, and I'll be honest.
Wait. Lena Dunham has a new movie at Sundance.
Yes. Who knew? Of course. I mean, that's her natural home. I think Dan talked about her first film coming out of Slam Dance. But yeah, I mean, this film definitely fits the Sundance model here. And we talked about, like last year, this year, there's a lot of movies about sex, sexualization, sexuality. And this is one of those. It's about a girl, kind of, I would say, late teens, who is living with her kind of a new age mother and her adopted sister. And while growing up, she essentially had to have a hysterectomy and massive internal surgery. And so she's, because of that, she's been kind of sheltered. She hasn't really experienced life at that point. And one part of life she hasn't experienced is sex. And as a job, she takes care of special needs kids. And in this case, she works for a couple played by Lena Dunham and John Bernthal, and she takes care of their Down syndrome son. And because she's kind of interested in sex, she seduces John Bernthal's character, and they start having this love affair, and she learns about sex. And then when the affair gets caught by Lena Dunham's character, she kind of gets the boot, and from there, this idea of love and sex is just kind of blown out the window, and she goes crazy in the sense of now she wants to understand sex, in all its facets, because Bernthal's character introduced her to porn, and so she has this ABC list. And she'll go on every letter of every sexual position or sexual, thing you can do, starting with so A obviously is adoration, but
amore.
And so she just kind of goes down that list. So here's the thing. As I'm watching this movie, I'm a dude.
Watch what you say when you start out with A.
I know, yeah. But so
Ah,
I'm a dude, and you know, we hear it all the time. You know, this is not necessarily a film that men should that you know that's an argument of why are all men just reviewing my movie? This is probably one of those that fits that category. And two, you know, I've got this very deep Christian upbringing, and so I think my issue with the movie is just the premise from the start. I think what she's trying to do is take this character, take a girl, and show how she's taking power and control over her body and over her sexuality, and you know, and not letting people use her, but now she's the one who's in control of what she does. And as she's kind of exploring and experimenting, you know, random men come by, she Craigslist, blah blah blah, and and I'm watching this and I'm like, well, if this is supposed to be a powerful statement about you know, control of one's body, I just have issues of this is not how I'd go about it, or you know, I don't, you know, it's kind of like the movie Pleasure from last year. This is not a path that I would necessarily encourage people to go down, or would want people. Obviously I don't want to judge a person who goes down that path, but you know, this is the thing that I'm wrestling with when I'm thinking about this movie. And it's so, you know, did I like it? It was good. You know, Lena Dunham's a good director. She's a good writer. She has interesting things to say. There's some really good moments in this, but at the same time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this subject matter is just it's just hard for me to really embrace it.
Look,
And,
I suffered through Girls. I think the best thing to come out of Girls was Adam Driver's career. But I'm gonna agree with David Garcia, says Lena Dunham, no thanks, lol. So I'm with David Garcia on this. I you know, Girls was interesting maybe from the writing standpoint. What started to annoy me after a while was how many times Lena Dunham decided she should get naked in her own show in episodes, and she I don't know, just that show was, I mean, it's one of these shows I'm like kind of forced to watch, you know, because someone else wants to watch it who isn't me. Let me just throw that out there. Throw that out there. I want you all to know, forced to watch. So it's why I watch 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days, which is a hilarious reality show. And I'm also forced to watch it, but that one I actually enjoy because at least it's funny.
But
it's
then
funny.
that's not a force. But I mean,
Girls was sad. I thought, to me at the end, it got very sad at just the, I don't know. And I just kind of feel like, are Lena Dunham's movies a form of therapy for her? Because I would rather it's rich people therapy is what it is. I mean, it's that it really is that it's therapy for rich people is making a movie like this, right? And I've read some of the articles about Lena Dunham's return, and the internet's not happy about it because of things she said and done in the past. So I don't know. It's not a movie. It's not a movie that would be at the top of my list or even on my list. So even your lackluster, your sort of meh review makes me even want to see it less. So
well, that's what we do. That's our job. So
it's our job, I guess. But I mean, I just look at Lena Dunham. I just think that whatever she had to say as an artist, I feel like she has said already, and everything else now is, I guess, driven by ego and some form of therapy for her to work things out. I just think that's a rather expensive way of doing it. And also, you know, I feel like there are other filmmakers I could reference who do the same thing, but actually have films that have something interesting to say. But I haven't heard. In fact, that was a subject last night when we were at our movie Twitter gathering, was how much people despised the sharp stick. They really did not like the film. So there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. What's our next movie, Alan? Unless anyone else has thoughts on Sharp Stick.
Norm has joined us, so we move from the Sharp Stick to something in the dirt.
I'm at the Film Threat condo.
Right.
Yeah. Alan's condo. Yes.
Nice condo.
I know.
It's my writing day. So so anyway, Something in the Dirt. Now, this is the fourth feature film by the filmmaking duo Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and they did Spring. They did Synchronic. They did The Endless, and now this is their first film. Surprisingly, their first film that has made it to Sundance, and it's easily like their most dense and philosophical and heady, brainy, movie yet. Their jam is they do these very odd lo-fi sci-fi Twilight Zone-y type things that are light on special effects, heavy on acting and craft. And this particular story follows these two guys played by the two directors, Justin and Aaron, who are living in this tiny rundown kind of apartment complex in Laurel Canyon. And then they begin to discover like a very random, very strange phenomenon that occurs when specific conditions are just right. Like there's an ashtray, a crystal ashtray that they sit in a window, right? And when one of them is standing in one spot and the other is standing in another, like they start hearing this humming, and the ashtray starts floating and shooting all these prismatic colors around the room, and then one of them moves and then it ends. So they're like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? Is it wormholes? Is it electromagnetic effects of like everything that's around us? And there are planes flying over all the time going to LAX, and like all these weird theories about the history of the city and the construction of it and secret societies, and all this stuff gets thrown in, and it's very dialogue heavy, but when the effects are needed, they happen, and they start tapping into connecting with other dimensions. And it's just, if you go with it, it's so much fun. But again, I'm a fan of their stuff because I find it to be such great bootstrap filmmaking, because they're not only starring in it, one of them wrote it, the other one is the DP for it and the editor for it, and they just do all of this stuff themselves. And then when it's time for post and all this business, then they bring in other people and do these other things. So it's just such a good example of indie filmmaking and the way you can work with what you have. It's just brilliant.
I'll say this, having heard your description of the movie, it reminds me of half the films I've seen at Sundance where I could conclude I have no idea what the fuck this movie's about. So that's I would just put it in that category.
The good thing is you do kind of find out what it's about. You do. I mean,
well, your review doesn't. I'm not particularly enthusiastic, Norm.
Okay, I am.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. It sounds like an early Duplass Brothers movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the production, right? Like it's very low budget, whatever. But so it sounds like early Duplass. But the Duplass Brothers movies were very much all about something, right? Like the Puffy Chair, one of my favorites. I'm going to throw that out as a recommendation. The Puffy Chair, a great small. That movie should inspire you to go make a movie. It's about a guy who buys a chair for his dad off of eBay, and it's a really weird puffy chair. So he drives kind of, he goes on a long drive. He's going to go and drive and pick it up. He's going to go pick up this chair for his dad's birthday. That's the whole movie. And then it's all the what happens between Mark Duplass's character and his girlfriend. They're going through something. So they're kind of dealing with it in the midst of this, of this journey. Right. But, I have no idea what Something in the Dirt is about.
It's about two random guys who discover a strange phenomenon and they try to figure it out. And that's it. All right.
Now I know what it's about. Okay, cool. Yeah. But you can't. Well, if you told us, you'd be ruining it.
Absolutely. So.
All right. Would you say it's like a lo-fi sci-fi?
That's exactly what I would say.
All right. Cool. See, now I'm interested. Norm sets the gold standard. He states the story, what it's about. Here's the hook. Get me in.
And then then go. Then, and then go and enjoy it, because that's how you gotta. Yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
But again, I'm a fan of theirs, so.
Cool. Real quick, I just want to say hi to the chat. Blah blah says, Chris, I know it's off topic, but I was wondering what you thought of the card counter. I have no thoughts about the card counter because I have not seen it. That's the movie with Oscar Isaac, and I have not seen the film. So sorry there, blah blah. I'm sorry about that. But I just want a quick reminder to support us and buy something. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. You can get this classic Film Threat tee, this classic tee here. I'm going to feature myself here so you can see it. It's got our old logo, and it says your independent movie guide since 1985. That's when Film Threat was founded. And, of course, Rob also he got the memo. He's wearing a Film Threat shirt, our very popular Make Movies Not War shirt. And, the rest of you, I don't know. You're looking for a wardrobe change. It's there. So
I'm doing laundry right now and writing.
at the condo. Somebody thought that was somebody in the chat. It might have been blah blah said they thought you were actually at a real condo. Like look at this.
We even have a panic room.
Do you have? Wait a sec. So are you on a green screen right now? Is that how that works? Okay. You're in the panic.
Bravo.
No, I'll walk over and play the piano right now, but I'm busy.
Walk over to the piano.
Every request.
I'll wrap out some chopsticks for you.
Do it.
But
Wow,
I'm busy
Bravo
right now.
says the card counter is wonderful. That's great.
Incidentally, here's a weird.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but here's a weird connection. Oscar Isaac, right? He was in the Moon Knight show that's coming out, and Justin and Aaron Moorhead did that.
Oh, well,
cool.
There you are.
So there you are. It's all.
There's the connection.
There
Alan, what's our next review and who's up? Who's up next?
Sabina, you are up. And this sounds like a Southern California movie, Palm Trees and Power Lines.
Yeah. Yes. Back to our favorite topic of Sundance, sexuality and the desire to have sex. So Palm Trees and Power Lines, based on a short film by Jamie Dack, an NYU film student graduate. And this film, in a nutshell, is about sex trafficking in a very personal, obscure point of view where you would not realize this was happening around you. And it's a quiet film, but very powerful. The acting is superb. It has a newcomer, Lily McInerney, I think is fantastic. I hope we get to see her more and more. And I think she fits the indie world really well. Jonathan Tucker, a man of many trades, extremely talented person. And briefly, Gretchen Mol. Lily McInerney, her character is a high school, it's summer high school, hanging out with her friends. They all smoke pot, they drink beer, it's hot, they're sort of a lower middle class family. She uses the power lines to get to places, the paths under power lines to get to the beach and to do things with her friends. And there's a dine and ditch in a cafe, and the Jonathan Tucker character sees her and makes eyes with her. And then everyone's running and he picks her up and then slowly makes a relationship happen with her, and then finally brings her into the sex trafficking scenario. And all along she's falling in love with this guy, mainly because he's mature, he's good looking, he says everything right, he gives her a bracelet. He's nothing like any of her friends who seem like idiots half the time. And the Gretchen Mol character, although very slight, in her world, she's a single mom, she's a real estate agent, men are coming and going, she's breaking up, they're coming back. So her idea of what a relationship should be, what sex is supposed to be, because she's having sex with her dweeby friends and, one of the guys, and the Jonathan character brings it to a whole nother level. And I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending is not what I thought it would be. This is a really well done film in many ways. And I think for the budget they probably had, they got a lot out of it. They got excellent acting roles. It's a sleeper and it has a message. And I watched the Q&A mainly because I wanted to know what these guys were channeling to do their characters so well, but be able to get real acting out of it, not just, coverage. If does that make sense? Like a lot of these indie films, I feel like they get coverage because they only had 5 minutes. They have to have this scene and that's it. But this was different, and a lot of coaching went into it. And I think, given in the times that we're living in, it's a very poignant film. This is a classic Sundance film, and it's not a Cuties that had a lot of controversy. It's not a Lena Dunham film in any stretch of the imagination. This is about a real life topic that's happening, and it's happening around us, and we probably don't even know it. So, I was really psyched that I watched this movie. Yeah, and this director, there's more to come. Absolutely, she's good. She's really good.
What do you think? Does this movie have distribution yet? Is it something people can see? Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I actually listened to a podcast so not too long ago, where the whole subject, it was a woman who was sex trafficked, and it was on a podcast actually on YouTube called You Are Here.
No.
Is the name of the podcast, hosted by Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson. In any case, there was a woman they had on who was sex trafficked. And what was fascinating about the conversation was the way she described it was she didn't know she was being sex trafficked. It starts out, it's almost like a grooming thing where, there's certain behaviors that are encouraged. And then she found herself in a position that she could not get out of. And then she realized, like, oh my, she realized what had happened to her. She went on to, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name, but she went on to where she helps girls caught in this situation. So I don't know. I've seen a couple of movies that have dealt with sex trafficking. They were not very good. I mean, I saw one that was like an action movie, and it's just like, this is not an action movie topic necessarily, but this is something that, if you know something about it, is horrific, happens more often than we would like to admit. And I mean, I'd like to see a movie about that. I'd like to see, truthfully, probably rather see a documentary about it, which I'm sure would be heartbreaking. But the more that topic can be discussed in a mature way, I think the better.
Well,
So,
and what
sounds good.
Yeah, and what Jamie Dack, who I think has had experience, I think something happened to her this story came about, but she wouldn't actually talk about it in the Q&A. But what I think is so powerful is this character, this Jonathan Tucker character. You and I know this guy. We know him. We do business with him. We've seen him. Friends know him, and you just don't see it coming. And that's why I thought it was really powerful.
Well, I mean, it's a topic that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. And I don't know, you can't do an episode of CSI just about that and leave it at that. It's, what I mean? Like, so.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So it was really well done. I'm really, really glad I got to see it.
Well, thank you for your review, Sabina. Who's up next, Alan? What's our next movie?
All right, Rob is up next. This was an interesting one that I saw as I was trying to pick films. It was Piggy.
Oh my God! I saw the photo that accompanied that we saw. Usually we only get like one or two photos. Shocking. So I'm really curious what this is about.
And that is what I think it was our first conversation. Alan was saying how he goes about picking sometimes at a film festival of just based on that photo alone, and that's exactly what I did with here. It just had this this heavy look to it of like the gravitas to it, and she almost looked like Leatherface, standing in the middle of the road, at all bloodied and everything. So yes. And she would be, her name is Laura Galan, I think is how you pronounce it. It's a Spanish film. She plays Sarah, who is an overweight teen, lives with her family in this small villa in Spain. The family owns a butcher shop, which of course, adds to the constant bullying she receives from her peers. She decides to, every now and then, she just wants to escape the summer heat, and she goes to the local swimming hole and swim when no one else is there. So she did this one time, and these three girls who are persistent bullies had come back and not only started to shout things at her and degrade her, but also, were playing pranks on her that almost caused her to drown. And they took her clothes. So she had to get up out of this swimming hole and walk through town in her bikini, causing all these more catcalls and the townsfolk yelling these degrading things to her, and she just had such shame about her just even walking through town. But as she's walking back to her house, she notices a white van that was driven by a man who we had seen in various scenes of the film, but heretofore from her, she's been unseen. And in this white van, the windows are kind of, there's cardboarded up, but through the back of it, she sees the hand of one of her tormentors, a bloodied hand, and she's yelling for her to please help her, please help her. And then the van drives away. And before he does, he drops off her clothes to her at the end of the drive and then pulls away. So that is based on a Cerdida, I think is the name of the short on which it is based, from the same director. That is where the short ends. And this film picks it up from there and tells the rest of her story. And it is a fascinating story. It is, first and foremost, she is in almost every frame and is phenomenal. I mean, she gives such a raw, fearless performance that I can't wait to see what she does next. She's amazing. But they also, the director, who I'm blanking on the name right now, but I'll get it. But she layers this with not just not just with fat shaming and but also the perspective of justice and of I don't know, feeling as though, what is the of this victim and her victim / savior. He's the oppressor versus the savior. They have this kind of unspoken bond between them, because he's not there to hurt her. He doesn't want to cause her any harm. And yet he's doing all these atrocious things around the town. And she's trying to grapple with it, because it is those very same tormentors that are receiving their comeuppance. So there's this kind of, she has to grapple with her own sense of pride and of appreciation, but yet shame at the same time. And they really delve into that too. And it's a fascinating kind of, dismantling of it, because I started to think about, and I wrote this in my review, I started to think about all the horror films that I've watched and grew up with, and how the weight was a factor in it. And I think back from like Friday the 13th Part 3 with Shelley in there, and he was an object of mockery. And then you think of Catherine in Silence of the Lambs, who Buffalo Bill had targeted at the beginning of that. And then you see on the opposite end where weight was used as as an image of the oppressors, of like the antagonist, like Leatherface, like was mentioned before in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Eddie's mom in It, and how this kind of dismantles it and takes a look at it and from all sides, and it's a very nuanced approach to it. But it does work as a straight-on horror too. She does such a phenomenal job. Carlotta Pereda is the director. She does a great job with this town, this villa in Spain, where she plays with the light and the darkness in there. And it's sunny and idyllic one day, and then in the evening there's just, I mean, it's just this dark pall that's cast over the entire area, and this mounting dread. And it's awesome. It's a great midnight movie. It's up there with like Hatching as a surefire midnight movie, but it also has a lot to say.
I mean, I love indie horror. This isn't a horror film from your description that's you would put in the category of like a Scream movie.
No.
It's 100% not that, but
I find too much on its mind for that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like indie horror, really grapples a lot with ideas and psychological horror, which makes it even more frightening. So
yeah. It is. I mean, this causes you to kind of rethink a lot of things, especially but within the horror genre, which is a genre I absolutely love. And it kind of gives it like a reckoning almost, which just fantastic.
Interesting. What's up next, Alan?
Okay, I'll go next. This is a documentary called 3 Minutes, A Lengthening. Very interesting story. Kind of continuing this theme of depressing and dark subjects. This is about the Holocaust. It's the filmmaker is Glenn Kurtz, and in 2009 he was looking around his grandfather's boxes, found a film he had shot in 1938 of 3 minutes of just people walking around his town in Poland, and after filming that, the Nazis would then come in, and the fate of all of the people in this film, were basically, most of them were killed. Don't know how many survivors there might have been, but this is a time of human history that was, right before, the greatest, tragedy ever, especially in Poland. And so what he decided to do is, because of the age of the film and because of its deteriorating state, he goes to a film restorer, and they decide that they're going to restore as much of this film as they possibly can, get as much clarity as they can, and then go and try to find out who these people were, what street this was on. It was in front of a grocery store, and just to kind of answer a lot of questions. And so that's pretty much what this documentary is about, is this search. They kind of take part of it as a CSI forensic standpoint of trying to figure out what the sign says, the grocery sign, and then figuring out, okay, who ran the grocery store, who were the customers there. And then they would just kind of go piece by piece, looking around as much of these frames as they can to just uncover answers. And then they were able to, I think they were able to find clearly about 150 people in these photos, and then kind of go down the process of trying to figure out who they were, what their story was, and then what their ultimate fate was. The grandfather was around to kind of, spot some people, but this is just one of those really deep research projects, so to speak. And I think what sets this apart from a lot of other documentaries about the Holocaust is that, because this is actual film, and because it was at a more happier time, that it's the footage is haunting at times. And it really ingrains in that point that, yeah, these were real people. These were individual people. And in a year or two, they would not be around anymore. And so it's, I wouldn't say it's the most groundbreaking documentary I've ever seen, but it's definitely an interesting one. And if you're just a fan of forensic filmmaking and just the Holocaust in general, this is a film for you.
Well, your entry point in discussing it is you talk about, like, it's a guy who finds his grandfather's film. Is it very personal in that way?
No, it's basically he took his camera and shot people walking on the street. Yeah.
Well, again, Sundance, here we are.
I know. Have we? Did anyone see a happy film at all?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, a lot of these, like, when you hear what the subject matter is, and you hear it's almost it's definitely after a while comes off as eat your vegetables. You know what I mean? Eat your vegetables and see your depressing indie movie. You need to do that. Like which is, yeah, I just it could be the greatest version of that kind of movie. I don't know if that would motivate me to want to see it. There's so much
It's
depressing
interesting.
stuff in our current world like that. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just hearing the descriptions of some of these
I
movies
know.
from everybody. It's just like, oh,
I know.
wow.
I'm looking at what we've got coming up, and I'm like trying to balance things off. But
who's next? Who's next?
Here's a happy subject. Let's talk about the Walt Disney Company. Norm, tell us about the American Dream. I'm excited because this is about Walt Disney, right?
No, it isn't. Actually,
Okay, so this movie is The American Dream and Other Fairy Tales review. There are people, by the way, listening to this on because I post this audio on Spotify, iTunes, and whatnot. So we have to state the name of the film and maybe give a brief description.
The American Dream and Other Fairy Tales. Let me see if I can sell this. It's a delightful story of how Abigail Disney. No, I can't pitch it. Abigail Disney is living off of the huge company that her grandfather and great uncle created. And she gets an email from a cast member, an employee at Disneyland, asking her if she would meet with their union and try to help the executives running things to see their point of view that they are not making a livable wage. Disney travels out to California in 2018 and meets with these people, and they're sitting in a room in a circle, and she's like, okay, well, how many of you have had to sleep in a car while working full-time at Disneyland? And like half of them raise their hands. How many of you have had to decide between food and medicine? And most of them raise their hands. I mean, like, so to her, this just blows her mind that this company that has such a veneer is paying nearly nothing, about $15 an hour, to their front of the line employees in 2018, while the CEOs at the top are making 800 times that in one day. So she then uses this look at her family's company to kind of expose the bigger issue of what's going on in America and the economic disparity between everyone else and the 1%, and the giant the growing chasm between the people who have money and the people who don't. So that's what it was. I was honestly expecting a huge takedown of Disney, and no, it does not paint them in the best light. I mean, toward the end, and this is not like some sort of a spoiler, but toward the end, they have an epilogue statement saying that Disney refused to participate in the documentary, but HR spoke with them about all of their wonderful programs and free education, and eventually Disney agreed to raise the minimum wage at the resort to $18.25 or something by 2023, when already MIT says that a livable wage in Anaheim, you have to be making minimum $24 an hour. So it's just a very interesting look at how that type of economy has become a thing, and how these people who are passionate about the mouse and Disney, they want to be there making the magic, but not while they can't pay for medicine, you know. And it's there are scenes where the cast members are guys, the cast members have a food pantry for people for members of the Disneyland cast that, you know, don't have enough money to feed themselves. That's how this is.
It's depressing as hell to hear this, although I'm not surprised. I will say, I'm going to do this when you're kind of done with your main review so we can discuss, but it's depressing to hear this. And I've heard horror stories myself. I mean, there's that movie by Sean Baker, The Florida Project, which is about the kids that live kind of on the periphery of Disney World. And his new movie, Red Rocket, by the way, I think is brilliant. It's hilarious. If you've seen Red Rocket, if you have not seen it, Sean Baker, Red Rocket, it definitely one of the underrated movies of last year and worth checking out. But this stuff about Disney doesn't surprise me. It's sad. I mean, I have friends who work for Disney. I had friends who work at Disneyland, in Anaheim, which is where you are, close to Anaheim, Alan. Yeah. It's so sad to hear this. And I just saw that people are talking about this new Star Wars Galaxy Hotel. You can go and have an experience at the Star Wars Galaxy Hotel. It's totally immersive. It looks like Space Hotel. It looks like the most generic 1980s low budget sci-fi show from the images and everything that I've seen. And they recently ran ads to be one of the cast members that would be one of the players at this hotel, pays $18.24 an hour.
And how much are they making per guest per night?
$1,000 a night, I think.
No, 2,000. 2,000 a night with a 2-night minimum stay.
Right, 2-night minimum stay, and it's really expensive. So I don't know. I mean, the Disney company, when you look at other types of decisions they've made in terms of their dealings with other countries and turning a blind eye. I can't talk about these things. If I talk about this on YouTube, we'll get demonetized or limited, right? So these things can't even be spoken out loud. The things that we'd like to talk about freely, we can't actually say, which sucks, right? But it's very disheartening. It's disheartening. I haven't been to Disneyland since the before times. It was something where at one point I had an annual pass when it wasn't so crowded. Now it's just, I feel like they don't care. They're just going to charge it. And no matter what they charge, they know people are willing to pay. And this is where we are. So I'm a Knott's guy. I love
Disney
Knott's
in 2015 and I haven't looked back because it just became too much money. And you know what? The mega fans, they'll keep paying.
Yeah.
And Disney knows that.
It's sad. And, the chat, they're talking about it too. So we appreciate everyone in the chat having a conversation here. Blah, blah says Clownfish TV does a great job of bringing this up.
They're very
I just found them. They're amazing.
Yeah, Disneyland used to be fun, few crowds. That's true. Now it's not. The before times. That's how I describe everything now. The before times. I'm in Pasadena, California. 50% of the people I see are wearing masks outside. The CDC said a while back you did not have to. Oh man, now we're going to get demonetized. Darn it! Why did I even say these words? They said you didn't have to wear a mask outside. And I see half the people wear. I don't get it. I don't know. And Hans says Disney is nothing but propaganda. I would say that they put the agenda before the story, and there are clearly things that it seems Disney is pushing. I think it's pretty obvious if you just look at the movies. So there you go. David Garcia says BC. I think that's what we're gonna say. But
story, so
as if I couldn't be more dissatisfied with Disney and the way that the company conducts themselves. I feel like it's best when you live. If you're going to be pushing morality, right? You might want to live the morals that you're espousing, or at least aspire to, right? And it doesn't seem like as a company, there are way too many examples of them not living up to the morals that they espouse. and it's really disheartening. And they deserve all the failure that's coming their way. If you want a really good immersive experience, try that Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That thing is just fun, better food. You don't feel like you're being price gouged.
Oh, and Diagon Alley in Florida.
Diagon Alley in Florida is amazing. I've been there. I was fortunate to go.
Oh, good.
It was awesome.
But does Universal really treat their employees better, or is it the same thing?
You know what? That I don't know.
You know what? Jumping back, as anti-Disney as the doc is, it says that this kind of behavior is rampant in corporate America. One cast member in the circle is wearing a Knots shirt, and she's like, you know what? I work at Knots too, and the same thing is happening there.
Yeah.
She's like, but Disney is apparently a leader, and they should be making the changes, and they're not.
It would be great to see a Blackfish styled takedown of Disney, and doesn't sound like this quite has the teeth that something like Blackfish does, but that would actually change the culture from within, and it doesn't sound like this actually does it, though, does it?
It reminds
me. You can find a lot of stories on YouTube and on TikTok. I mean, the people are starting to come out about their experiences as cast members.
Do you remember
at all the parks? But Disney mostly.
Do you remember The Simpsons did an intro? You know how like they do sometimes they have guest animators, and Banksy did the intro. Look this up, Banksy, The Simpsons intro video. It's very short, but it just shows that like the House of Mouse is just this horrible factory. It's just it's awful. But this is what I think is just happening just in general. I feel like so much of the media these days is built around dividing people over things that are stupid, that if you really think about them are stupid. And I feel like the real thing that's it's kind of like it's the same strategy as Ming the Merciless. Ming the Merciless kept the different kingdoms of Mongo fighting amongst each other. The Hawkmen, fighting,
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's our world now. That's politics in the media.
Mm-hmm.
Politicians in the media are keeping all of us fighting over all this stupid shit to distract us from the fact that everything is about class war. That's what this is. It is a class war
system.
I'm freaking old. So in my lifetime, I have just seen this divide. Friends of mine that were middle class. I mean, I was pretty solidly middle class. I can tell you with confidence, I am lower middle class now. Lower middle class, and it's where sorry, Norm. Sorry, you're saying?
Oh no, I was just saying. Well, that's okay because during the pandemic, in the documentary, they state that super yacht sales went up 46%.
Yeah.
So I mean, they did fine. So it's okay.
Well, Scott in the chat, I don't have a solution, except here's the beginning of the solution, which is ignore the distractions. Ignore the distractions trying to divide people by gender, by race, by sexuality. All that is distraction. All of those kinds of things that the media tries to distract us with, and in particular politicians, and generally when they're running for re-election, try to distract us with it's this group, it's that group, ignore all of that. Ignore all of that. So we're seeing some encouraging signs when you're seeing like things like the truckers in Canada, very encouraging. More of that. More of reminding those in power that they work for us. Not like, I mean, they should wear NASCAR jumpsuits with patches of who's paying for them, because they're not beholden to their constituents. They're beholden to, whoever their donors are. So, come to Film Threat for all this great commentary about movies. That's why you're here. That's why you're here, is to talk about fun. I don't know. This is just a subject that's really disconcerting to me, because I know personally people affected by this who work at Disneyland, seeing everything just, little by little. So, I don't know.
If you live in Orange County, you've worked for the mouse at some point. So,
right.
It's rampant out where I live.
I was able to avoid it, but while I was there, but
Yeah, well, I appreciate the chat and my colleagues here tolerating my political rant. I'm just annoyed when I see friends of mine. Get sucked in by this, where they're spewing out things because someone doesn't line up with their political views, so they're to be hated, or I don't think anyone's medical status should be public at all. I think I don't like any of that. So I'm very concerned about the divide in our country, and I don't think we're going to solve problems until we can get past all that shit. The past couple years has really exposed how worthless most of our elected officials are. Utterly worthless when it comes to problem solving. Look up how Cuba has handled things differently than we have. And when it comes to pandemic issues, just look up what they've done. And it's eye-opening. Anyways, sorry, apologies. Soapbox. I'm kicking myself off the soapbox.
So do you want to wrap it up, or do you want to do?
Yeah, do we have another film, or are we wrapping it up?
I mean, yeah, we're at the hour and a half mark. I think we're okay.
No, but do we have other movies to talk about?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, definitely.
All right, then let's do it.
All right. So let me just make sure I have this right. So Sabina, you saw The Janes, which is different than Call Jane, right?
Yes, very different. So The Janes is a documentary about a group of women in Chicago who helped women get abortions. It was an underground group when abortion was illegal. It was just around when Roe versus Wade was about to pass, and Chicago was going through an unbelievable amount of civic unrest, political issues, the mob. I mean, it was Chicago in the early 60s through that whole decade really faced some stuff, and women were getting abortions, and I don't need to describe this. We all know what happened. People tried to do them themselves. They went to doctors who didn't know what they were doing, and they got into trouble. But the idea is that abortion was still happening. So these women formed a underground society, underground help group, and they would post all over town, Call Jane, which was code for, if you need an abortion, we will help you. And so they got together, and they would have women fill out cards, their name, their address, all the info on where they were in their pregnancy. And each of these women would help them with abortions. Some of them performed abortions. They found doctors who did them. And it was an enormous undertaking. And these ladies are all interviewed who are alive and told about the process of what was happening today, those who are still alive. And it is a fascinating discussion, because these women were so dedicated to being a Jane that when they look back on it and talk about it, and this is what I love about this film, they feel so gratified with the work they did. So eventually they get found out. And they were being watched. They knew they were being watched, but they didn't care. They found a place. They called it The Place. They would cook in this place. And there's a funny part that when they finally did get taken down, the cops who came in were these big, huge Irish guys, and they have one of them in the film. And they were like, what's to eat? And there was a pork roast in the oven, and the woman's like, pig. So, they were very funny women. And very smart, and then they hired a killer attorney to get them off. But while they were in jail, they met other women, and they knew nothing about the underworld of Chicago, prostitution, women who had mental disabilities. They didn't understand the prison at all. They completely were not women who would ordinarily show up in a prison. And so they learned a lot in their lives, but they had to disband the group. And what was so interesting about these two filmmakers who put the film together is that there wasn't a ton of footage about the actual Janes. There were photos of everybody, but they used their archival resources so well that they actually constructed what you thought was going on in Chicago, what people looked like, what their emotions were like. and I hate to say it, but it's a feel-good film about abortion. And its timing is, it's impeccable with what's going on right now in our country.
Well, that goes on the poster. The feel-good movie about abortion.
Yeah.
It's going on the poster.
Yeah. Brave women.
Make sure you say that in the review.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, wow. Well, there you go. What else do we have, Alan? I just want to let the chat know that we are going to get to your questions. We had a super chat coming. We're going to be getting to those. I want to get through our reviews, but I think we're almost done, though. We're almost
done. I think it'd be interesting because Norm, you saw Call Jane, and I believe it's about the exact same subject, but it's kind of a yet another feel good film about abortion.
But it was a fictionalized account that starred actors, movie stars, all this stuff. It had a glossier patina, but it was basically the exact same thing. It starred Elizabeth Banks, Sigourney Weaver, and a bunch of other people that I'm crazy about. Names are escaping me right now, but it was good. It had like heavy Penny Marshall vibes, where they're just doing it, and things are tough, but they're doing it, and so I mean, it was good. It was good, but it wasn't. There were moments that could have been punctuated with more focus, I suppose. But
it's called Call Jane.
Call Jane.
Yeah. It says Sundance.
I was just really excited to see Elizabeth Banks finally, because I love her. I love Elizabeth Banks. She's amazing, and so I loved seeing her sink her teeth into something, lead a movie that had some really nice moments for her. So,
well, I like her as an actress and a comedian. She did a thing where she once presented an award where she talked about how Steven Spielberg, how come you don't have any women leads in your movie? And then it was just like, he's made a ton of movies where women are the focus and the lead. It doesn't make a lot of, I don't know. Sometimes when I see celebrities kind of get on their political high horse, they're very ill-informed. I just think that's kind of, I've seen that happen more often than not. So
yeah, it's a knee-jerk reaction to the narrative. Got to get that narrative out.
I guess I want to get to a super chat that came in and answer a couple of questions that are in the chat. Sabina, Rob, Norm, thank you for joining us along with Alan. We are Film Threat. Our website is updated every day, filmthreat.com. 3 to 5 new reviews of movies. Most of them you probably never heard of, which is good. That's how you hear about them, is you visit our website. And we are continuing to cover Sundance, even though we've talked about films here. Not all of the film reviews are written. Sabina, Rob, Norm, you're free to go if you'd like, but I do want to get through these chat. You're going to take off, Norm?
Yeah, I'm bouncing.
You're bouncing. All right, Norm.
Yeah.
Love you, sir. Talk to you soon.
I have 2 more movies to catch, and
go.
Okay.
We're gonna do a live stream next week, actually, with Slam Dance, which I assume you have credentials for.
Of course.
Or we can help you out. So cool. All right, take care, Norm.
See y'all.
Right. Oh,
Take care.
Follow Norm at HorrorBuzz.
Yes.
HorrorBuzz. Go to horrorbuzz.com for all your horror film needs, and just follow on social media HorrorBuzz. Great.
Yeah. And bye, Rob.
Wait, did Rob just leave?
Yeah, Rob just dropped out.
Did he have to go?
I know.
Should have.
I think he tried. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care, Norm.
All right. Bye, you guys. I gotta
Bye.
go play something on the piano, and then I gotta go see a movie.
All right. Take care. Enjoy the piano.
Adios. You should see Alan slink onto it, with his sequin dress.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fabulous.
Very sexy.
Later, Norm.
All right.
Care.
Adios.
Hans Euchre says, wanted to donate before you get demonetized. Love you, Chris. Thank you, Hans. And Hans has been very active in the chat. John's been very active in the chat, so we appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna go through these as quickly as I can here. Indie Films Rule from Scott Slaughterbeck. Thank you for that. I like Banks' early stuff. She has become a bit self-righteous as of late. I actually agree. I don't know why this seems to be the pathway for a lot of actors. They start out and they're, they do a lot. And then for some reason they feel obliged to have an opinion on something. And I don't think
she was
you
Betty
always-
Grant in Spider-Man, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in
the
Spider-Man.
original, in the Sam Raimi one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And blah blah says, if I had a penny to my name, I would gladly donate it all. Thank you, blah blah. That's fine. There were some other questions up here I wanted to get to. Let's see. Someone says here, the Lemur says, I probably pronounced that wrong. Lemur. How does one get to see some of these films if they live in, say, rural New York? I'll tell you exactly how. One, with the Sundance Film Festival, you can just buy tickets. You can buy tickets to the virtual festival. That is open to anybody. So you can get a Sundance, just Google Sundance Film Festival, go to sundance.org. You can purchase tickets to see the movies that my colleagues at Film Threat are able to see. You can get that. Additionally, my suggestion is that you go on your video on demand platforms. There's an independent film category. A good percentage of the movies that we do review on Film Threat are available on video on demand. Generally, they're on like a Vudu or a iTunes or Vimeo. Vimeo is another platform that sells indie movies. So my suggestion to you, hey, you could be in the middle of nowhere and you can see a lot of these indie films. And a lot of them come on. Vudu has a section. I know I'm sort of like, I not everybody has Vudu, but I have Vudu because all my other accounts are connected to it. It's weird, I know. But Vudu has a section called Indie Films Playing in Theaters. So usually if you see something is in like New York or LA, you can actually rent it or purchase it on demand through Vudu. They're not the only platform. iTunes does it as well. But I use an app called Just Watch. So Just Watch is an app. You can get it for your phone, and it tells you where you can see a movie, and it even gives you the pricing. So you can find out like if it's cheaper on Prime, on Amazon Prime, you can get it there. And if the movie is not available commercially to see, you can add it to your watch list. It's a very long answer to that question, but I think it's a very good question because we get that question all the time. So there you go. We got another question here from Vinzinger, aka El Otaku, aka the Weeb Pillar. That is I hope I pronounced some of that correct. Hello, you guys. How do you feel about anime and manga becoming more successful than Western entertainment? I think, first of all, I think it's great. There is a physical bookstore that is on the east side, a Barnes & Noble that has one of their largest sections in the store is anime books, anime comics and collections. And I think it's because a lot of modern entertainment is crap. I mean, it's garbage. I'm talking about modern mainstream Hollywood movies are mostly garbage. I did a series of videos with Film Courage discussing that exact thing. Like a lot of these movies are crap. So I think that what's happening is that, kids, they want something that they're just going to be entertained by or get caught up in a story or the characters. And I feel that what's happened with Western entertainment is agenda and the message supersedes the actual storytelling. Now, it doesn't mean that a lot of those themes were already in a lot of entertainment anyways, but beneath the surface or in themes, but not in a forceful way. I feel like where Hollywood is missing the mark is these messages that would just be woven in a non-pushy way, just like, okay, listen to it or not. Now it's just like, right, like it's just on the nose and it's so obvious it's annoying. So I actually applaud the success of anime and manga, and we do cover anime on the site. Alan, do you have any thoughts on this? And I'm not asking you that just because you're Asian. It's just
I know.
Not, but maybe you have some perspective.
Yeah, I mean, my fear is now that anime is becoming more popular on Netflix and Hulu, are now Netflix and Hulu going to have influence on the material now that's coming out of anime? That's the fear I have, because one of the reasons we like it so much is because they're not beholden to a set of standards that the Western entertainment has put stories under. And you know, I hope it goes on for a while, and I hope it remains untouched.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, if Hollywood likes to virtue signal about a lot of things, but there's one color Hollywood cares more about than any other, and that's the color green. They like money. And I feel like we're going through this odd period where, you know, these films are just not resonating, right? I mean, biggest movie of the year of last year, Spider-Man No Way Home. Perfectly entertaining, fun movie. That is, you know, quality mainstream entertainment. And that's rare these days. That is rare that a mainstream movie, you know, we reviewed Moonfall actually on the channel earlier today, Alan. And look, it's dumb and it's fun. That's all Moonfall is. And does it satisfy? Yes. You know what it is. You know, look, if I buy if I buy a burger from In-N-Out, I know exactly what I'm getting, and it's delicious, and that's what I want. So I feel like kind of Moonfall is the In-N-Out burger of movies, if that analogy makes any sense. But yeah, I really applaud that success. I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Sabina.
I agree. I agree with Alan completely. And I think that there are, you know, there are really good stories there. I mean, you know, and that's what I love about it. I mean, that's why I'm like, oh, okay, like it's easy. It's easy to watch. It's a break. Isn't this supposed to be entertainment?
Well, look, there's all different types of movies. Like, look, I like a good documentary that forces me to think. But if that's all I watch, it'll, you know, it'll be like after you've been at Sundance and watch a bunch of movies, and you're questioning your mental state. I mean, part of me, I'll see a depressing indie movie at a festival and go, I'm glad I'm not those characters. I'm glad I went through that experience because my life is a million times better than that. So, but you know, it's about a balance. You know, when I go see a mainstream Hollywood movie, whether it's a superhero movie or big action movie, please do not lecture me or tell me I'm a horrible person if I don't like this movie, right? Like I just want to be entertained, and that's what I want when I go to see a mainstream movie. When I go see an indie movie, my expectation is it's gonna be a bit more thought provoking, right? It's just gonna be, maybe there's more layers to it, and maybe not. You know, look, I love a good full moon entertainment movie, a Puppet Master movie, or a trauma movie. You know, The Toxic Avenger, which they've talked about remaking for years, like doing a big budget version of the Toxic Avenger, which I would love to see. I'd love to see that. So they're all types of indie movies, right? And I personally love the genre movies, sci-fi and horror, you know, and ones that have a sense of humor. One of my favorite movies from last year, I don't know if either of you caught it. Did you see Psycho Gorman?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oh,
I read the review, but I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Psycho Gorman is I think it's on Shudder. Really great, fun little indie movie that is wildly creative. It's weird. It's bizarre. You know, it's an indie movie. No big message behind it. It's shocking and it's awesome. It's as much a comedy as a horror film. But I'm gonna go and see if we're. Doesn't this all align with the idea that they think people are dumb? Yeah.
Yes.
Hollywood thinks you're dumb.
Yeah.
Hollywood thinks the last great era of American filmmaking to me was in the 70s. Some would argue 80s and 90s. 90s was kind of the rise of independent cinema with people like Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, among others. Their careers, you know, rose in the 90s. So, yeah. And does Chris have a list of these films? Scott, I don't know what films are you talking about? You talking about like decent Hollywood movies or indie movies? We do be more specific with the question. I'm sure that I can answer it, but we are going to be wrapping up in about
Filmthreat.com has a great list, a giant list of films.
Well, I mean, you know, to me, I always look on this kind of stuff as if a friend of mine talks to me and they're like, oh man, just lost my job. Or like they're going through some sort of, you know, work. I'm like, look, I got to move. I prescribe movies.
Right.
I almost did. I want to do a YouTube show called Dr. Gore, where I basically, you tell me what your problem is and I prescribe a movie to solve your problem. And to my friend who lost his job,
That's
I
a
said,
good
"You gotta
idea.
First of all, it might be a blessing in disguise, that you lost your job. It might have been a shitty job, but also see a movie called Up in the Air with George Clooney. I know it's a mainstream movie, whatever, but inspiring. And I love a lot of the messages that are in that film, and it's that the message kind of get back on your feet. And you can make fun of me for recommending this to Jerry Maguire too. The scene where he writes the mission statement. Look, I mean, whatever you think of that movie, yes, there are cheesy romantic comedy aspects of it. It's dated, but that part of it, that thread where he sticks to his values, right? He writes this mission statement. He doesn't want to work for the big corporation. He wants to, his character wants to do something bigger. And I felt like I've been confronted with that when I've worked for big companies, big corporations, right? But I've always had some other thing. And that's where it can be soul sucking to work for a big company, right? And I find it much more satisfying to make very little money doing film threat, or to do little side projects. Like if you can find this book, I'm going to recommend a book. Maybe a lot of people don't even know that I did this. I did a book called Celebrities Poop. Celebrities Poop, which is based on the book Everyone Poops. There's actually there's an edition, there's an audio version of it on Audible or on Amazon. And if you can find this book, it's a delightful book.
I believe Oprah makes an appearance.
And I don't think I can even
Can you
show you
us
anything.
something?
This is a real book, and I don't know if I can show it. It's a parody of Taro Gomi's book Everyone Poops, called Celebrities Poop, and I always have to have a side project, whether it's a book, a movie. Film threat's kind of been my big thing, but there you go. I wanna stick. Did Scott? Yeah. He worked for the mouse. Dr. Film. Yes, that was what I want to do. The ones we've talked about. Alan is going to put a list in the description on YouTube here. So he'll put together a list of all the movies that we reviewed. They will be in the description once we wrap this up. I don't know.
And we clipped out all the reviews as well, so you'll be able to. Channel.
Yeah, after the live stream, we clip the individual reviews, but we're going to be doing more live streams, probably once or twice a week. We'll do a review live stream, and there's a show that I want to do. I don't want to announce what the name of the show is, but it deals with a lot of the themes that we've been talking about. This show is going to be directly addressing that, and it'll be a debate show, a show where we debate topics. So, let's see. We have some more chats. Dr. Film. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Chris. I want you to start making autographed copies available for your books. I should do that.
Yeah, how hard is that really?
Yeah. There you go. Scott says, "There goes my day." We got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, I'm really sorry, folks. But thank you for hanging with us on this live stream. We're going to be doing another live stream next week. We'll be talking about Sundance. I think that's Monday or Tuesday. We'll get that scheduled because we need time to actually watch the movies so we can talk about them. I've seen 2 movies from Sundance this year so far, and the lineup, I actually think the lineup at Sundance is better than Sundance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I agree completely. Yeah.
My personal opinion, we might have to do a couple live streams next week, maybe Tuesday and Thursday. Let's look at doing Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay,
I've
get
seen
scheduled.
Film I saw. I'm like, it's just it changes this whole show.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait because I think Sundance is more the punk rock version of Sundance, which is why I appreciate it. Also, quick reminder to everybody to support Film Threat. Support us and maybe buy something at shop.filmthreat.com. If you like this t-shirt, among all the other merch that we have, we've got some pretty cool merch on the the Film Threat shop, so pick that up. We appreciate your super chats when you send them in, and those questions always get priority. I wish I could answer all of these chat questions, but we do appreciate you. Thank you. And here we go. Hans sums it up perfectly. You guys are the best. Peace and love to all. Peace and love to you, Hans.
Peace and love.
Appreciate
Peace
that.
and love.
And Scott says, "Will do, Chris." Blah blah. Watch the card counter, Chris. I think you will enjoy it. I love Oscar Isaac, so that
It's
one.
okay.
What? Get out of here! I love Oscar.
Okay.
Isaac. So that's one that I will catch, and I will discuss it. I will discuss it once I have seen it. And thanks for your work, says Shell Damage. Thank you, Shell Damage, and thank you all for sticking with us and watching on this live stream. It's been great. Any final thoughts, Alan?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this has been an amazing week, and it continues a slam dance. My head is spinning. So I can't wait for slam dance to start. I'm going to start enjoying films again.
Yeah. It's going to be a nice break from what's been going on, more like who we are as people. It really will be.
Well, thank you to the chat. Thank you, Sabina and Alan. We will be back. We're going to be doing live streams a couple times a week now, and we thank you for your questions, your support, and take care.